eventually became the computer crimes thing, and this amazing thing that went forward. He's been my partner since I walked through the room, into the room. I mean, it really is. And you know, right through and right up until the very end, it was always Jimmy. You know, I'd come up with these cockamamie ideas, and then Jimmy'd figure out, okay, well, this is how we're really going to do it. So it was a huge component. First and foremost, you want to recognize Laura. You come up and, whoops. Oh my God!
Or it might be a shot.
Thank God nobody had fell on with it.
We'll get him to re-sign one.
You didn't want that anyway, did you?
Laura, from all the hours, we kept him away from you. I mean, I didn't know, I know you wanted him more and everything else, so please.
Yay!
Just a quick Jimmy story, and it's not even actually, just to set the table, it's not even my story, it's actually more Frank's, if Frank wants to come up and tell it. But rumor has it, and it's still a rumor, during, everybody remembers we were involved in the America's Most Wanted things, and we were out there, and it was actually, we kind of got behind the 8-ball at the end of this thing. We were catching bodies faster than we could go out and do search warrants to get computers and everything else, and actually, in one of the particular cases, a bad guy from in the city there had actually gotten out of jail before he even had a chance to run into the city and go get his computer. So Frank Giardina and Jimmy went into the city. I wasn't even there for this, but I heard on later, and you can almost tell how real it was. And I guess they get up in the door, the bad guy over there, and they can see he's in there, and they're not there to arrest him. They just want the computer, and he's like not cooperating. He's basically, you know, and he runs away. He actually, I guess, runs out the back door. Is that right? He runs out the back door. So nobody else was home, which was, of course, a problem. So Jimmy did notice, I guess, across the street there was a bunch of guys that looked like a bunch of gangbangers, and he thought it would be real important for them to maybe secure the house. So he went over there, and this is how we know it's real, as he introduced himself. Hello, fellas. And he said, you know, there's an awful lot of valuable things in that house over there, and we're unable to lock the door, so we need to leave, but, you know, if you wouldn't mind just keeping an eye on things, appreciate it. The two intrepid guys did respond back to headquarters, of which the phone call about a particular burglary that happened at a particular house. Shortly thereafter them leaving, imagine that happened. It's just one many Jimmy stories.
He deserved it.
He deserved it. Again, Jimmy, you were my partner. One thing I'd like to tell the family in this room, there was always one thing that was most important to Jimmy every day, and that was his family. It always came first. I can't believe how proud I am of him. He always made sure he made the phone calls. He always made sure he was doing the right thing by you guys. That is an absolutely extraordinary thing. And from a partner point of view, I mean, he was a great partner. And you can't believe how many times he turned, you know, he would come out of nowhere and he would say something to a kid, to a victim, to a complainant. It was just the Uncle Jimmy thing that turned the case. Just absolutely turned the case. So thank you for being my partner, pal. Thank you. Commanding Officer John Cowie is going to come up, and he's going to give you some trinkets and babbles and whatnot, and then take it from there.
Thank you. You know, Rory's story is very funny. He didn't have to do the internal affairs investigation. My side wasn't quite as funny as Jimmy. You know, I've had the pleasure and privilege of working with Jimmy, and I think probably repeating a few things that Rory said, but going back to Chief Murphy bringing me up there, and initially it was just Jimmy, and Vinny Riccozzi was here tonight. That was the computer crimes unit. That really was the foundation on which this was all built, and it turned into a great unit. And they're really a tremendous part of that. A huge part of it was the foundation, the beginnings, and that was Jimmy. And Jimmy really was you know, a big part of it, and we'll remember him. You know, I'll tell you, as time goes on, people retire. We go to these things all the time, and you look at people like, holy shit, man, what happened to them in 30 years? It was horrible. Jimmy really improved because his hair got a lot better.
star.
Porn star, Greg Brady, all kinds of things. He looks a lot better now than he, or his hair does anyway. Jimmy, as I said, a very talented person and able to multitask. And one of the times, the first time that I realized that was, again, we worked together like 12 years or so, but this is going back 10 years ago maybe. And the guys roll out on the road, we're kind of a small unit, and the guys roll out on the road, and I was in the office by myself, and the phone rang, and I answered the phone. Computer crime, Sergeant Cowie. Oh, I'm sorry, I must have the wrong number. I thought this was Home Depot. Not Depot. Not Depot. That's where I realized Jimmy can multitask. Apparently, he can do 2 jobs at once. We do have a couple of proclamations. I got to hear Rory yelling here. As Rory said, really one of the most important things to Jimmy always was family. He always put that first. And you know, as important as police work is, and as much as we all love our jobs and everything, family's got to come first, and that really was always the case with Jimmy. So just a couple of special acknowledgments of Jimmy's family. I know his mom and dad are up from Florida, and I didn't have the pleasure of working with his father, but you know what? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and I'm sure Jim was just like his dad. And his mom. Oh. That was the apple he fell from, the tree he fell from, with his mom. So we thank them for being up here. His daughter Tara and her husband John, and the granddaughter.
Annabelle.
His daughter Jill and Joe. His daughter Cindy. His son Dave and Julia. And Jimmy's sister Terry, who I know from years ago, believe it or not, yeah. And her husband John, and Jimmy's brother Tommy, and Laura's sister Regina. And actually, Stephen's over here too. I'd like to thank Stephen from the Irish Coffee Club, really.
Yay.